Alrighty folks, so what we got today is a Suburban, what is it, NT24M furnace out of the Newell. It would not run. You turn the thermostat on and it would just click and nothing would happen. So I took it apart, took it out of the case, and the fan was very hard to turn. So what I did, and I didn't record all of it unfortunately, but what I did is I removed this cover. Let me show you. This cover right here, it's held on just by some sheet metal screws. Got a nice little diagram. Took that cover off. There's a little set screw that holds this little mini squirrel cage fan on. I took it off, and then I came over here on this end, and there's another set screw in here, and that holds this squirrel cage fan, and I took it off. And then what I did is I leaned this thing up on the edge to where I could spray lubricant on the shaft and it would run down into the bearing, which is really not a bearing, it's just on these little motors, they're just like a brass bearing. There's no roller bearings. So anyway, I managed to get it freed up, and so it's spinning pretty decent now. And so what I'm doing is just getting my power hooked up here and wired up, and I'm gonna test this thing out. But basically what you've got is this pretty simple wiring. You've got a yellow, which is actually ground, the red, which is the hot, or the 12 volt, and there's two blues, which are your thermostat. And what you do with these, well, all the thermostat does is connect these wires. So when it cuts on, these two connect. So I'm gonna strip a little bit more of these off and twist them together. And then I'm gonna use my handy dandy little power pole terminated amp meter. And just for fun, I'm gonna see how much power this thing draws when the fan's running. So I've got this little gator clip thingy that I made, put power poles on the end of that. So I'll use it kind of backwards to power this thing. So let me get this wired up and I'll be back. All right, got this thing wired up. Got a ground there, and I got my power here, and it's alive. It's kind of loud though. I have a feeling this motor is, I don't know what's going on with it. It's got too much in-play or something weird going on. Maybe I need to adjust the squirrel cage a little bit. Let me see what I can do with it. Well, I think this may have something to do with it. I mean, I know it's no heavy duty motor, but that can't be all in the shaft. Let me pull this thing back apart. I wonder if the motor's just loose in there. All right, so I think we've got to the bottom of the problem here. So for starters, we have a melted, messed up brush. And I think that was caused by the fact that this bushing wore out to the point that it started wearing down through the dust cap here. You can see it's kind of oblong. And if you look down through there, you can kind of see where it wore out as well. But anyway, that allowed it to get all out of alignment, and then the brushes didn't line up, and then they got hot, and then then it melted, and I think ultimately what ended up happening today when I was trying to test it is this just finally got all bound up and it's not making contact, can't spring like it's supposed to. So I would look and see if I can get these brushes, this brush housing, but this armature here is not looking so hot either. It's got a lot of wear on it. It's hard to tell on the video, but it's in pretty rough shape. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in the house and I'm gonna see if I can find this motor. Made in the USA, American Bosch. Now there's something you don't see so much anymore. Okay, the new motor is here. So I'm just gonna get it mounted back in this bracket and start putting this bad boy back together. See how it runs. Alrighty. It's running with the new motor, much quieter. Looking good. So, start putting some of this stuff back together, and I'm gonna see if I can rig up a temporary gas line and see if we can get this thing to light. We'll be back. Just checking the igniter. So there's two small issues with this. One, that gasket's falling all to pieces, and you really don't want the combustion chamber to be exposed to the inside of the coach or the camper or whatever you're working on. The whole point of having a furnace is that the exhaust gases come from the outside, from this intake. This would be sticking outside your coach. Actually, this doesn't stick outside. It goes into another tube that does stick outside. Something like that. You've seen them all in the side. You got two holes in the side of your coach. Anyway, this is the intake. There's a little fan on this side that pulls air from here, blows it down through here, and puts positive pressure on the, or maybe it's negative pressure. Maybe it's pulling air through here. Anyway, basically it's coming in here and it's blowing it out here. And so that just gently moves air through, and the flame, the combustion that's happening in there is never happening inside the coach. So you don't have issues with propane and the vapor caused by the burning of propane and all these things inside your coach. It just gets this hot, and then the air from the big fan blows between these flues and it comes out. And when you have the cover on here, it goes out the sides. So that's kind of how they work. All right, so the burner is back in. I've got the igniter / temperature coupler sensor thingamabob here in temporarily with a couple screws just to keep it in place. And we're gonna attempt to start this thing again. And it's possible that just because there was no gas in this line here, that it's gonna take a few tries. I mean, that's normal, even when it's in your coach. So I'm kind of hoping that's what it is. The orifice at the back of the burner looked fine. I didn't see any obvious clogs. But let's hook it up and listen to it and see. Where's my wire? Oh, there it is, right in front of my face. It's hard to do while you're holding the camera. All right, so it's going to run for a minute. It's waiting for an input from the sail switch, which is working. And you'll hear this solenoid click. There it goes, and there goes the igniter. You can actually see it through there. I don't know if the video. So it's tried once. It's going to try 2 more times before it gives up. If this thing lights, you'll be able to hear it. It's like that igniter's working about half the time. But it is working. If there's any gas up there, it would light. Let's see. This is on. So I'm disconnecting the power. This will reset it. It's in lockout right now. Now it's going to start over. It's going to run for a few seconds, just to make sure the fan's running. Let's try it again. Well, there's no gas getting to it apparently. Now there is a possibility that this valve, even though it's clicking, it's stuck still, not letting any gas through. So I'm gonna have to do a little research and figure out how we can check that, read that up possibly. And, we'll just keep trying. I don't know how this works. It looks like it's welded or soldered on there. So I wonder if your gas valve goes bad, if you just have to buy the whole new tube and everything, which if I can get it and it's not too expensive, I wouldn't mind necessarily doing that anyway, because this thing's getting kind of rusty, especially down here and around the back. I mean, it ain't terrible. Anyway, I'll keep playing around with it. So I did some troubleshooting on the furnace, and I found out that basically everything was working except when the furnace told this valve to open right here, it did not. Basically, it was clicking. It seemed like it was working, but when I finally pulled it off and did some tests, tried to blow through it, it just would not open. I took the cover off, the diaphragm, looked in there. I just can't get it to work. I think what has happened is the plunger that you can see down there, it's supposed to pull up that rubber plug. And what I'm seeing happening is when I activate it, you see the solenoid lift up, but it doesn't pull the plug along with it. It just, I don't know if something disconnected or if there's something that's supposed to be going on with this diaphragm that helps to blow the plunger out when this activates. The long story short is it doesn't work. So I went to try to order a new one, and this part is now obsolete. If you have a serial number below a certain serial number on my model heater, which is a Suburban NT24M, if you're above a certain serial number, you have this valve. If you're below, you have the old valve, and you can't get the old valve anymore. What I think happened is somewhere in there they decided that they were going to go to a dual solenoid valve like this, which I'm no HVAC guy, don't claim to be, but my assumption is that all this is redundancy. Idea being that if valve number 1 fails for some reason, valve number 2 keeps the gas from flowing. And I assume they probably went to that for safety after a certain time. I mean, this is a 1982 model furnace. So, anywho, what I'm going to attempt to do, I ordered the new style, and I'm going to attempt to make it work with my furnace. From what I can tell, the control board part numbers and everything are the same. So all I think they did is they had a harness that basically jumpers across these two terminals, so that when the board tells it to open, it just opens both solenoids at the same time. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm making a harness that's basically just got 2 spade terminals on this end, and I'm going to put 2 female spade terminals on the other end. I'm going to hook the positive and negative up here, hook the positive and negative up here, and then I'm going to plug this end into the harness on the furnace. That way I'm not messing around with the wiring on the furnace. I'm just providing a harness. And I've seen pictures online for Dometic and Atwood furnaces where they come with a valve almost exactly like this, and they just come with a harness like this already on them. So my thinking is that several manufacturers probably retrofitted to this safer, probably dual valve at some point. And nowadays, I don't know if they have harnesses or what, but I'm going to attempt to make this work. It's an old furnace. I'm probably not a genius for farting around with it, trying to get it work, but at this point, I've already put a new fan on it, spent $150 on that for the fan motor, and it was another $70 for the valve. So I don't know. At this point, I just want to see if I can get it to work, to be honest. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Put this harness on, I'm going to wire it up, put everything back together, and see if it'll work. Now, the other issue that I can go into more when I get out to the shop, but you see how wide this is, and you see how wide this is. It's about twice as wide. So the piping that comes in and out of this is going to have to be modified, and I think I have an idea for how to do that. But I'm not going to do anything until I get it hooked up and make sure that the furnace will actually come on and light, because I don't want to find anything else wrong with it. So that's where we're at. So after all of that craziness with ordering a new valve and making a harness for it and trying to make it fit in here and everything, I came out here to do that, to try to test it. And I looked down here on the floor, and there was a little spring laying down there. And I was like, where'd that come from? And so then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, I bet you when I pulled this diaphragm off, right, this cover off, to look at this diaphragm, that spring went shooting out of there and I'd never heard it or saw it. Because when I took this cover off, this was very tight and I had to pry it off. It wouldn't come off and I was trying to pop it off without damaging the diaphragm. And so I was just I had a screwdriver and I was pushing. And so when it came off, I had it upside down in the vise and this thing came off and like flew up in the air along with the spring, I'm sure. And so I started poking and prodding at everything. And what I did was probably broke the plunger free that was stuck, which is what I originally figured was all that was wrong with it to begin with. So I freed the plunger and everything. But then when I started testing it and put it back together and test it, there was no spring in here. And so that's why it would never open. So what was happening was the solenoid was releasing and the spring was supposed to push the plunger open, but there was no spring. And so I was just completely at a loss as to why this thing wouldn't work. So I put the spring in, put everything back together, activated the solenoid, blew through it, everything worked fine. So what I'm gonna do now, for the 100th time, I've got my temporary gas line set up, going to my little refillable 1-pound propane cylinder. And I've got everything hooked back up, got the igniter / sensor in there, got everything piped back in, put some of that yellow pipe dope on there. So everything should be back together. I've got this thing pushed in. I still got to take this board off and resolder this igniter coil, but I'll do that in a minute. I want to see if it'll run. So I think I'm ready to go here. I'm going to find my other jumper and try to do this with one hand. Nope, I can't do it with one hand. Hang on. All right. So it's going to run for about 15 seconds. Got this valve open, right? Yeah. There we go. Did it light? Yeah, it sure did on the first try. There you go. It's amazing what happens when the thing can get gas to it. So, oh wow, this smells fantastic. Years of dust. Warm my hands up. Well, I'll tell you what, this is nice to see, because I was just about to throw this thing away a couple of days ago, but I decided to keep trying. And as luck would have it, a little spring laying on the ground is what ended up fixing it. So, cool news about that is, now I can send this back, because there's nothing wrong with it. So, and I made that pretty harness too, look at that. I'll turn that into a power pole splitter, it'll be all right. All right, well, we'll sit here and watch it and make sure it doesn't blow up or anything, but at the moment, it looks like we got it. All right, so one of the other things I had to do for the furnace is this is the board. So these are pretty standard. They're very similar on lots of different models of RV furnaces. And you can get them for between 70 and 100 bucks. But this one, when I first started working on that thing, I noticed that it wasn't igniting. And when I went to wiggle this is the igniter module right here, and I went to wiggle it, and when I did, it did this. It came out of my hand. So I was actually able to just press it back in there and kind of twist it and get it to make contact, and the igniter was working fine. So it just needs to be resoldered. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. If you look there, you can kind of tell where it was soldered before. I may take something and clean these up, or I may just go for it. Thing's 40 years old. Just see if it'll re-wet and stick in there. But anyway, so there they go. I'm just gonna see if I can re-melt these. I may put some fresh solder on there with some flux in it, and maybe that'll run down and get in there and mix with the old and hold it in there. So let's give it a try and see if we can get it to work. So just kind of lean it over like that. And this will give me an opportunity to try out this guy. This is a Milwaukee M12 battery powered soldering iron. And I tested it out the other day, just kind of turning it on, and man, that thing gets hot really fast. So we'll see how it does. Let me grab some solder. I forget how many watts this thing is. This is my 40 watt Weller. It works pretty good. Nothing fancy, but it's a decent little iron. So yeah, I mean, that thing's already melting solder. So let's see if we can. Let me get my iron in my right hand here. Yeah, the new and the old don't really want to mix together too great. That might have done it right there. I'm not the best in the world when it comes to soldering, and I'm sure there's something that you can do, tricks and stuff that you can do, like maybe if I had some paste flux or something that I could clean this up with. I probably should have wiped it with alcohol or something, but I don't know. I'm just kind of going for it. Well, that's going somewhere. That old puddle melts, and it just has a film laying on top of it. It looks like when you're welding aluminum with, you know, like, I need an AC soldering iron. But that's getting in there, I think. It can't be much worse than it was before. The thing was falling out. So it ain't pretty, but I think I got it. Let's see if I can pull it out now. No way. All right. So anyway, there you go. First soldering job with the little Milwaukee soldering iron. This thing's badass. I like it. So we'll put this back in the furnace, and I'm going to get it running again, kind of let it burn in a little bit more, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the propane hooked up to it and turn it off, and then I'm going to use my handy dandy propane sniffer, and I'm going to sniff all around the burner and all of that to make sure that the valve isn't letting propane get by, because I have that valve all to pieces, and I just want to make sure that it's still working like it's supposed to. But we'll see how that goes when we get to it. But that's the board done. All right, y'all, got the new board back in. Got my little gas can hooked up. Turn the gas valve on. Man, that valve is cold, it won't hardly turn. All right. And provide my artificial thermostat. Oh, before I do that, I need to hook this one to the battery. Now I can do my artificial thermostat. All right. Let's see if you'll that little air in the line there. So I'll go out and come back. So there was a little air in the line there. So the fire went out and came back on. Yep, it's running. So my ignition module resoldering job was a success. I'll take it. Well, I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make this valve, which I ordered, work. So it's quite a bit longer, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this pipe as close to the bend as I can and still tap it, or put a die on it and rethread it. And then I'm going to have to do the same thing over here. I'm going to cut a little bit off the end and then take a pipe threader and thread it on back to about where this plate is. And then that'll allow me to, I think, fit this thing in here about like that. So that's what we're going to attempt. All right, I got this out and got the old valve off, and we're going to cut these pipes now. All right, y'all, I've been fighting with this heater now for like a year. Anyway, I ended up managing to get the dual valve in. I cut this, I threaded it, rethreaded that. Now, the piece that came off here, I was not able to rethread. I just couldn't get it to start. So what I did was I just went straight in with a piece of pipe, and then drilled a new hole here and came out, and then I capped that hole off. So hopefully what I can do now, I'm hoping that this distance here is close enough to bring it out somewhere in this vicinity. If it doesn't, then I'll just cut it and make it work. But anyway, I got this whole thing pieced back together. I did put propane on it and check all my fittings to make sure that they're not leaking. Everything's good. I cranked it up and ran it for a while. The new valve's working fine. Everything seems to be okay. So I'm going to attempt to put this back in the case and call it good.